We are with Craig Allen. He's the 1st District Independent candidate running for Congress. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about 1 minute or so. Tell us why it is that you're running for office, why you think you're the best person for the job.
Well, in the past, I tried to get a few things done in a related industry of my work, and I didn't get anywhere, and everybody told me that if I wanted to do that, I'd have to fight an awful lot of lobbyists, and I would never get it done. So I decided to tackle that myself. But I think what I have to offer the most is, as an independent, is I am able to represent the people of Oklahoma in the 1st District free of any special interest in any lobbyist group, and I think we need a third party to, if not referee, at least add other thoughts and some fresh ideas.
Let's talk a little bit about the economy and jobs. Certainly one of the biggest topics this election cycle. If you're elected, what can you do to try to spur the economy and bring jobs to the 1st District?
Well, and bring jobs anywhere, but mainly the 1st District. I think the first thing we have to do is tackle the regulation problem. I learned actually just today that there's 6,705 regulations now from the federal government. And when you have that kind of number, there's no way that people are going to be able to ever sift through that and find out what's going on. We're choking everybody to death with taxes and with regulations, and the only way we'll ever bring more jobs is to reduce that and try to open up the job market with good common sense thinking.
Let's talk a little bit about health care. Obviously, the Supreme Court upheld the Health Care Reform Act. What would you like to see happen with health care? What do you think is the most fair thing to do?
Well, I think probably the most fair thing to do is take half a dozen or a dozen things that make sense to both sides, and then build on top of that and see if we can get a panel of doctors and a panel of experts from the medical profession to sit down and figure out if we can come up with a universal health care, maybe something similar to that Congress already enjoys, that we can do equally across the country where everybody has that opportunity at an affordable cost. Right now, I don't believe it would ever be affordable, and as I understood it, is for 30 million people, we have 350 million people. Right. So that's a concern.
You know, we continue to see the nation's debt and the national deficit just grow. It seems like each and every day, each and every year. What would you do to try to bring that under control?
Well, I understand that a great portion, about 40% of tax money collections are wasted. So if we go in and we find out where the waste is and get rid of that, I think we can probably use that money in other areas and balance the budget. An awful lot of people say a balanced budget is imminent. Well, I don't know if it's imminent, but a balanced budget amendment will make it happen instead of, well, we went over it, but we shouldn't have, but I guess we'll just try it again next year. I think we need to tackle it hard.
All right, let's talk about Social Security. With each election cycle, we're a little closer to it running out of money. What would you like to do for Social Security?
Well, the first thing I'd like to do is make sure that nobody's allowed to tap into Social Security. It's borrowed from, it's stolen from, and I think we probably need to say no more and fix it and take that money that we found from wasteful programs and things that don't work and put it back into Social Security and leave it alone for those who are going to really need it, and they're really going to need it in their senior years, especially in these times.
You know, the congressional approval ratings right now are around 12%. Some polls even have it less than that. It's the lowest point in history. Right. If you get elected, what could you do to help people trust Congress again?
Well, I think if we expose where an awful lot of the waste is, and if we come in and give them a good common sense approach and not have non-bipartisan, you can't have one side of the aisle tugging against the other side and you have some other ideas in there. I think it's time for a third group. I don't know if it's a third party necessarily, but I think if people actually see something happening and things are exposed, you'll gain their trust, but it's probably a slow process.
All right, final question. Some say that America can no longer afford to be the peacekeeper of the world. What do you think should happen with the military as we move forward? What do you think our U.S. military should look like?
Well, it's awfully important, but I think we need to get back to where we were originally. And there was a thing called the National Guard, and it guarded the nation. And I think if we guard our borders, lock the country down, and make sure that we are secure, and really take a hard look at what we have here first, it'll probably, the other problems will mostly solve themselves. But I'm not very much for occupying some other area that does not want us there. If somebody's in your house and you don't want them there, you're not happy until they leave. That's just the way it is. So we ought to probably take a fresh approach. And I don't know how hard that's going to be or how easy that's going to be, but an awful lot of controversy about where we should or shouldn't be. But we should be here for sure, strong, to defend.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck to you.
Appreciate it.